Good morning again, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today, January 20th, Neudesic's webcast. Today we'll be talking about CRM and BI and easily leveraging your CRM data. Today's webcast is presented by Darren Gooding and Steve Muise, both with Neudesic. My name is Dion Mishler. I'm the Inside Sales Manager here with Neudesic and the moderator for this webcast. And Darren heads up our Dynamics practice. He's our director of our Dynamics practice, and Steve is our director of Neudesic's BI practice. Both of them are highly sought after, not only for customer engagements, but also industry-speaking engagements, as well as working together with Microsoft. Each of those respective practices also bring to bear awards as well as notoriety within Microsoft as far as Neudesic's capability to bring solutions within those stacks. So we're very happy that Darren and Steve are able to spend some time with us today. If you're logged in, you should be able to see the title slide. We have a Neudesic splash screen there. We did have an earlier introduction regarding live meetings. To simply recap, we do encourage you to ask questions throughout the session by typing them in. To ask a question, you want to click on the Q&A button located in the upper left toolbar, ask your question, and hit submit. Please note that all questions will be held until the end. We're using the feedback/seating chart feature, and that is located in the upper right toolbar. This is an audio webcast, so the easiest way to communicate with the moderator or the speaker is to use the feedback feature or the Q&A feature. Lastly, this webcast is being recorded and will be available via the Neudesic website probably within about a week, and those of you familiar with our webcast series know that we'll send out emails to you once that information is available. So if everybody is ready, please make sure your seat color is turned green at this time, and looks like everybody is ready to go. So at this time, I'd like to turn our presentation over to Darren. Darren?
Good afternoon and morning, depending on where you are. So what we're here for today is to talk about two things, CRM and business intelligence. A lot of times we keep those two things separate, but we're really going to talk about tying those two things in today and getting the most out of both of them, your CRM system and other. And we're going to talk a little about what Microsoft actually has to offer with CRM and BI today and their stack of products as they connect together. So if you're looking for something from really basic, I just need to get some simple reporting to very complex analysis of what's going on with your business. We're going to talk a little bit on a high level all across the board. And Steve is going to do a couple demonstrations for those today, provided his connection to the internet stays connected. Otherwise, I'll be doing more PowerPoint. So from typical problems that we see today when we go into work with organizations are a variety of different things. The number one thing for like CRM systems and business intelligence tools that are out there today is really getting user buy-in, simple to use, not going through 6 months of training to be able to get the information that you want out of the system. Some of the tools that are out there today, seems like you need a doctoral degree to be able to use them and actually find the information that you want. As we walk into organizations, I'd have to say that probably the biggest thing that we hear over and over again is, I just need a centralized view of what's going on with my organization. Where does my data sit today? It's in 5 different systems. So if I need to run a report, I've got to go run a report from every system and ultimately tie it into each other, and just a lot of ad hoc information gathering in general within an organization, which goes into the next thing of time. Spending time looking for that information today is where everyone gets in there and struggles with. And then when you find the data, is it actually real, or did it change by the time you went and gathered it up? If you're doing some sort of sorting throughout the whole week within your organization and you're gathering all this, by the time you provide the report a week later, for your manager or within the organization that you're looking at, is the data still accurate or is it out of date for what's going on? So some of the scenarios that come into play are, boss comes up to you and says, hey, I need to run this report. Well, if it's I need to see this information. Well, if it's not a report that's already built, you've either got to figure out a way to build it yourself, or you have to go to the IT department. And the IT department doesn't want to hear another story of, hey, I need to create another report, especially if it's going to be a one-off thing or something like that. you need to be able to quickly be able to get that information out to extract from your organization to be able to do something with that information. And then if you decide, hey, well, my IT department can't build it for me, so what do I have to do next? So I'm going to go out and go buy some tool for my department, or I'm going to, have something that's not going to be applicable across the organization, which comes into a play of this is going to cost us too much to maintain for the long run, and am I really getting what I need out of that, or we're going to go buy a tool for the whole organization, but it's going to take 2 years to implement. I don't know. I talk to organizations all the time, and I'm sure Steve does too, that they went and bought this awesome thing, but it doesn't work with your systems today, and the security doesn't work with it, and it's a massive problem within the organization. So these are most of the things that we come across when we're working with organizations. I'm sure everyone on this call this isn't new information to you. I'm sure one or all of these things have applied to your organization at some point in time. So one of my favorite slides, because I think I've been seeing this, some of this information over and over for the past, 10 plus years of visibility into the organization. As I was talking about, centralized view, being able to do this. So acquiring new customers, what it costs to get that. The funny part about this is I've seen this a million times. I'm sure you've seen some of this information a million times, but what have we actually done to solve the problem? Are we actually doing this? Are we actually going out and figuring out how I can take advantage of, current marketing condition, our marketing department being able to leverage that and go after the right customers? Are we, working with our current customers that are in place today to be able to make sure that we're providing all the value to them, or cross-selling or upselling products and services to them? How many of you can identify today who your most valuable customers are? And if you can, do you know why they're your most valuable customers, or they spent the most money with you last year? Maybe some of your most valuable customers didn't spend as much money with you last year, but they were more profitable customers. So that type of information is really what an organization needs to be able to pull out to get the viable information for whether it's sales or marketing or your service department or your operations to be able to take the most out of your CRM and BI systems. Okay, so from everyone within the organization needs a different view of this information. So if I'm the CEO, I need to be able to see one level of data coming out of the system, or if I'm the sales director, whoever it is, I might need to see the same information as another department, but maybe a different angle of it. So if I'm the sales side, I want to be able to see what's going on with the pipeline. But if I'm over on the other side of the organization from product development, what should I be working on for the future based on sales that are in the pipeline, or how we're selling, or what's in focus? It's really a different view from everyone. So are we able to pull that data right out of Microsoft CRM? Are we able to pull it out of our BI tools? What is it that we're getting all that information out of so we can have something that's, applicable to it? And I'll get into it in a little bit here, talking more about Microsoft CRM and the BI tools from, how we take advantage of some of those things. But I don't think this is anything anyone's not, come across within your organization is, hey, I need to get the information to be more productive, to make, be more successful in my job in general. All right. Get my slides switched here. So Microsoft CRM and Microsoft Business Intelligence, taking these two things and putting them together is really the big thing that we look at from taking advantage of the stuff that I've just been talking about. How easy is the system to use? Getting user adoption, be able to buy into it, making sure that they're not spending every morning going into the IT department going, hey, I'm not sure how to, make this work. Can you help me out? Really getting these applications to seamlessly work together. That's both from the user's perspective and both from the IT perspective. Being able to manage this, the cost can be astronomical if these things do not work together in general. And the security structure of it. So looking at, a lot of the BI tools that I was talking about, the cost associated to these is when you look at it over time and the managing of just the security from business intelligence alone can be astronomical in general. But when you use Microsoft CRM and the business intelligence tools that they provide together, you have that working out of the box. So when I have a user and I create security roles so they can see, you know, their pipeline or their marketing or their service or whatever it is that they're working with in general, the reporting goes across the board. So I don't have to recreate it. If they can see it in one place, they can see it in the other, and vice versa. If they can't see it in one, they can't see it in the other. And we're getting information that's up to date. So when somebody puts something in your service, you're tracking customer service cases or support tickets, whatever is applicable in your organization, is that you can actually see which ones have been closed, which ones are open, why they're open, what's going on at that given time, and how accurate that information is. I'll turn the next couple over to Steve, as we're going to talk a little bit about the technology that actually sits into play here.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ed. So hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Steve Muise, and I get the next couple of slides. And so for those people that have been to a Microsoft Business Intelligence presentation before, you're probably fairly familiar with the BI burger slide. And they named it that obviously because it looks like a hamburger. But I think it's a very compelling kind of understanding of how Microsoft plays into this kind of a strategic enterprise platform that we call business intelligence. And so you'll see in there a number of components, and I'm going to start at the bottom because ultimately I like SQL Server. And so you'll see the SQL Server Integration Services piece, and this is a separate component that comes in the SQL Server SKU that's used for moving data from line of business systems into data warehousing structures. And it's generally used for cleansing data and moving it around rapidly. Auditing and quality assurance is usually done inside of this space. And then sitting on top of that is the actual DBMS, which is the database management system. So this is the actual data warehouse or the data repository, data mart, where you'd begin to consolidate data across line of business systems. Today we're talking specifically around BI inside of CRM. And so in those situations and in those kind of environments, we may or may not be talking about a data warehouse being needed. Typically, data warehouses are used for consolidating multiple line of business applications into a single data structure so that you could begin to see CRM data alongside maybe some ERP data or some supply chain data or some support ticket data that may or may not be inside of your CRM structures. And as you need to begin to consolidate those, that's when the data warehouse will begin to come in play. They may also come in play if you start wanting to track history of things that of entities and their values, customers and their values that CRM may not capture. Then data warehouses may become an option at that point in time. On top of that, then you have two additional components. One's called analysis services. Analysis services is a data mart pre-aggregation business model type of structure. So for those people that have been in my previous webcast, I talk about analysis services fairly regularly, and I'm to the point now where I've pretty much settled to the fact that in any BI solution, it should often be a part of the actual architectural design for the ability that it gives you and the abilities that it gives you around performance, the ability to have one version of the truth. Plus, it also gives you a great opportunity to create a business model. And when I refer to that, this is a model where you can kind of mold the data and represent the data in a way that the business people inside of your organization understand exactly what that data is. There's no complication or confusion. For those people that are kind of seeing the data bases that hold CRM data or financial data of any sort, those data structures and databases are usually very complex, and the naming structures don't make much sense. So analysis services is a chance to kind of rename that in a way that makes good sense. And then reporting services is just kind of a standard. This becomes the piece for representing data. It's a simple to use tool. It's a performance tool. It's an easy to secure tool. The nice thing about reporting services is that you can surface it just about anywhere. And so you can integrate it nicely into whatever environment that your current business users are working in. Reporting services can find a way to represent itself there. You add to that then the ability to begin to do key performance indicators around managing analytics, the ability to do some trending, some drill down, some pivot, and Performance Point begins to provide that kind of functionality for you. So as you begin to interact with the data a little bit more natively, the ability to kind of do some root cause analysis, the ability to kind of twist and turn the data a little bit and represent it in ways that maybe the IT department didn't initially present it. It's not a full ad hoc environment, but it is kind of a guided path. It gives you the ability to begin to kind of filter the data and begin to pivot the data. Plus, with key performance indicators, you also then begin to track how your performance is doing against measures. And so I can now say that I'm expecting, sales to increase by 10%, and then I can begin to track that performance numbers. So I guess we're moving to the next slide. So you have the dashboards that we just talked about a second ago, which gives you the ability then to kind of consolidate all of those pieces into one look. And so you can have some of the analytics together. You can have some of the scorecards on the same page. You can surface reporting services report. The Excel services pieces, you can surface those all onto the same dashboard. And the nice thing about that is it gives you this kind of single pane of glass. And so you'll see some of the other pieces that I have listed underneath there, and all of those get built upon, either simple or some complex OLAP cubes. Those OLAP cubes are the analysis services piece that I was talking about a minute ago. And so with that data, that business model foundation underneath, you have the ability now to represent the data in a host of different methods that allow people to do everything from a quick analysis of are we on target or are we off target, to, if we're off target, begin to do some research on where are we off target, why are we off target, all the way down to some rather lengthy reports, if you need to, down to the detail level transactions inside of reporting services that says these are the accounts, these are the targets that we missed on. These are the ones we need to go out. Our salespeople or support people need to go provide some attention to these accounts so that we can begin to turn this around and we can actually get to the forecast or the goals that we've set for ourselves. And so together as a Microsoft stack, you have the ability now to consolidate kind of all those different data interactions into a single working environment. Doesn't require multiple tools to be opened up. Doesn't require you to jump from one interface to another. The learning curve is flat. It's all working like Microsoft software, so everybody is kind of understanding what it looks like and how it works already. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Darren to continue on to talk a little bit more about CRM.
Okay, thanks. So getting into some of the specifics from the business aspect and the benefits that you get out of this is, being able to do simple things like scheduled reports. Wouldn't it be great if you came in, every Monday morning and you had in your inbox sitting there with the reports that you need to start off your meetings instead of coming in early and running all these reports every week, the same ones. So with Microsoft CRM and SQL reporting services, that's something that you get out of the box. You can go in there and choose how you want to have this sent to you. So do you want to have it sent to your, just inside your inbox, whichever it is, your inbox, and so it's coming in there ready for you. Or you do get that request, as I was talking about earlier, of, hey, somebody comes up and says, hey, can you run this report for me? Well, with the SQL reporting wizard built in, you can just go create your own on the fly. And you don't need that doctorate degree or master's degree to figure out how to make it work. You can go in there and walk through a step-by-step process that's, easy for you to do. So you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, okay, well, it sounds almost too easy to be true. But, from reality of where we were years ago, it is there now. So, and they're leveraging the same things. I was talking about the security model. So somebody has the security rights to see a certain amount of data, they can go run their own reports on it. You can take the data offline. So with Microsoft CRM and Outlook, your ability to go offline and take data, well, you can also take a lot of your data points, whatever you're choosing to take offline with you. So you can go work on reports. You can dump it into Excel, which we'll talk more in a second, but you can dump that data off and work on a report on the plane without remembering to download everything ahead of time. You could just automatically do that. And some of the great things is that almost in every page inside Microsoft CRM, you have a little Excel button on there. So you can dump data out, you can do your own little, kind of find the right information that you want, dump it out to Excel, you could save it, create a pivot table, whatever it is that you want to do. The neat thing about that is once you save that Excel report, is that you don't have to go in there and rerun it a week later. You can just go back in and open up that Excel report, refresh the data. Right from there, it'll go out and to the CRM database, refresh the data. So if I'm looking at sales pipelines or forecasting or whatever it is that I'm looking at within the organization, and I can just update it right from there. So it could be just a manager who doesn't use CRM that much, which everyone should, but if they don't, they could go back in there and grab the data right out of Excel and update this information. And as I was talking about from the security perspective, this just makes life easy. So once you get this stuff set up, it's that, hey, you've got all of your filtered views of your data, the right data when you want it, instead of sorting through manually to find what you're looking for. And another neat thing about this is when you're building all of these reports and you go to upgrade from CRM 4 to CRM 5, is that it's not hitting the database directly, it's hitting your filtered views. So in your upgrade, all of your configured fields, your new fields, your custom fields that you build inside CRM are going to go with you with those reports because it's not calling directly to database. So cost of maintenance over time is going to save you, your organization, a lot of money just from simple things like that. So getting into a little bit of the analysis and what we start getting at, we start looking at some of the features that pulling out of what Steve was talking about from the technical perspective is, the time spent doing all of this and what are we really getting out of it. So finding that data at the right time, what are you trying to achieve out of CRM? So there's kind of two phases that I look at that organizations want to accomplish. Phase one is, hey, I want to see what's going on with my customers or my suppliers or my vendors or my partners, whatever it is, my constituents, if you're a public sector group, what is it that's going on with them today? So you put a CRM system in, you kind of get a centralized focus, you start going through basic steps of, okay, now I can see what's going on. So I can see some sort of accurate visibility into my pipeline. So I've got all the reps in the organization putting in their information. I have all the customer service reps using one system. I can totally see across from an account perspective, from a pipeline perspective, from a marketing perspective, what's actually going on with that. It's kind of step one. And I'll talk more about the predictive and getting more information out of that in a second. But really, those are the key things. What's the campaign effectiveness that's going on? So the last campaign that we ran, did anyone respond to it? Did anyone get anything out of it? Was it the best campaign we ever did? Do you know that? Well, putting some of these measures in place, you can start monitoring that so you can see, how many people responded to it. And we turn those into leads, and those leads turned into opportunities that turned into closed business. So that's kind of step one. We're getting into the analysis perspective. So what Microsoft is giving us out of all that is some of the things that we've talked about already, the Excel, and if you want to leverage this with all the way from Excel to Performance Point. But the cost of setting all this up, there's not a great difference from going from one to the next in general. Jump on to the next slide. Did my slides come through or did it get cut off? All right. So what's the benefit to the users within the organization? So everyone's looking at the same data, they just might be looking at it differently. So from the executives within the organization, it's I have a holistic view of what's going on across the organization. To the line of business groups is, okay, I need to find real information, what's going on, how we're trending, are we going to meet our goals this quarter, are we going to miss them drastically, which reps are the reps on top of the game, and which reps are struggling, what do we need to do to give help to them, all down to the user. The user is, the key thing here is usability. Microsoft CRM and all the BI tools that we have with it are easy to use and easy to learn, and so you're going to get adoption of the system in general. Getting that complete view. So here's some of the things that you're going to get out of it. So I'm going to get my accurate sales pipeline. How are we doing? Who are our key customers that we're talking about, and why are they your key customers? What is the effectiveness of what we're doing within the organization? So, wouldn't it be great if you could leverage a lot of different things when you start looking at, more of a detailed analysis that's going to come out of this. I think I've got one more slide, and then it's going to go into the demo. Oh, maybe that was it. So So stage one going into Steve is he's going to cover some of the basic things from SQL reporting and some scorecards and giving you a good overview of kind of what your starting point is from a CRM perspective. Oh, I see. I think Steve lost his connection, so maybe I'll go into talk a little bit more until he comes back on. So I apologize. Poor guy's trying to work out of a hotel this morning and maintain a connection, which always makes it difficult. So to talk a little bit more about this is, from an individual's perspective, how am I doing to my goals? So I can open up CRM, I can run a report, I can see it, I can have it sent to me on Monday morning, I can see how I'm doing compared to others. So if I want to look at a region-to-region perspective, or if I want to look at an individual, how am I doing? So if you have your Phoenix rep and your San Diego rep, you can see how they're both doing against each other. Which services that one sells more than the other, or which product, or does one tend to sell more than the other? Areas where we can start looking at trying to help them improve the way that they work also. Big thing is that find out, where people are struggling so we can help them achieve the goals that they need to make. So until Steve comes back on, I'm going to skip over and get prepared kind of for the second part of the demo. So when we come back, and maybe we'll just run through both at the same time. So as you start looking at that stage one to, as I was saying, was talking about your pipeline, talking about the marketing, talking about service, whatever it is that your organization, sells or service or partners with, or however you're using a relationship management system, as I was saying, stage one. So here's your stage one. You're going to look at these baseline things. Well, stage two is, okay, now I've got my CRM system in place. I've got my core data. I understand what's going on from a daily basis, and I can see that currently within my organization that what I've got in my pipeline, if we close based on the percentages that we have in play, that we're going to make our goals for this quarter. Great. That's a huge step up from starting with looking for data in 5 different systems and trying to figure out what's going on. But as we want to start looking at the next part of that is really, what am I doing with that data now? How can I truly start to get the most out of that information now? So I'm starting with the same data that we have, but now I want to start looking at different scenarios. So I want to see how we did from this quarter last year to this quarter now. What we did last quarter versus the quarter before. What this rep did over year comparison. So I want to start looking at a lot of analysis around that. So is running an example of, here's all of our leads within the organization. Which leads the most effective? Which ones should we be calling on first? Which ones are most likely to close? So as I'm putting information into CRM, it can start running the little engine behind the scenes to tell me, oh, well, this should be your top lead to follow up on based on the criteria that we've set in the system. So, for example, if I'm filling in data and I've got 10 leads in the system, and I've filled in certain answers, maybe I've got all of their information, or there's an interest level, or time of day that the deal comes in, whatever it is that we're doing, that I set up parameters around that so I can rank my leads and I can distribute them accordingly. So I can say, hey, you definitely want to follow up on this one first. Or what campaigns should we be running based on the information that's in the system? So we know that certain campaigns at this time of the year compared to last year were really effective, so we should run them, or these customers that bought these products or these services were most likely to buy these other services. So we should be marketing out to them. So there's a lot of different ways to start leveraging this information, really acting upon this data and what we're doing with it so we can be more cost effective in general. And I probably ran through some of these already, but here's just some good examples of predictive scenarios versus more standard of what's in my pipeline, what's my forecast is, how are we doing with that, and what are we doing with that data? The biggest thing I think that is here is the trending scenario. Are we selling to different people today than we were 2 years ago because of, economic conditions, or certain types of groups that we're working with? What is all that information that's coming out there? So we ought to know what the expected campaign responses are by just analysis over year. So what are we doing with it? And the last one on here is probably one of my favorite is, you know, which customers are most likely to bail on you? You know, when you're looking at this time, you know, that first slide that we came up on there, finding a new customer costs a lot more. Well, when you lose a customer, that even hurts worse. So which customers, you know, have you not talked to them in a long time? Is there an activity ratio that's going on? So we're looking at communications with them. You know, did they used to respond to campaigns, but now they don't? Maybe sales reps aren't following up with them on a timely basis and putting those activities and those reminders in play to be able to truly, you know, find out what's going on with them. You know, sometimes it might be just a phone call out to a customer, but you didn't really know that because you weren't really looking at the information that's coming out of the system. So anyway, here's just some really good examples of kind of that comes out of play there. And so what do you get out of all this? Better insight into the customer. It's more than just the customer, though. You know, when I look at CRM systems, it's customers, it's your vendors, it's your suppliers, it's your partners, it's your constituents. You know, I saw that a couple of universities were going to attend this session. I'm not sure if they're in here today, but you know, looking at, you know, who your students are, who your best students, which students are most likely to graduate, which students are most likely to come back to graduate school based on courses that they took to you. Are you looking at that type of information that you're pulling out of the system? Are you looking at which customers or which graduates are most likely to donate money back to the university in the future? These are a lot of things that you can pull out if you're mining that information inside your CRM system, you know, whether it's a student information system or whatever, with all these great BI tools that are out there to be able to leverage that. So it just makes it really great when you start looking at the data that you can get out and start mining with that so you're being more productive with that data once you do. And so I think Steve's back, so I'll jump back over to him real quick so he can jump into the demos. I apologize for the delay. But here's the key things that we're getting out of it. Being able to do ad hoc reporting, not being a massive burden for your IT organization and from a cost perspective and from time, and just getting the most out of it. So I'm going to jump over to Steve, and he's going to go through a few demos from that perspective, and then we'll come back and go through a couple wrap-up things and go from there. And hopefully everyone's typing in questions right now to Dion so she can be all prepared to throw us questions at the end. Steve?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. So yeah, apparently I'm in a dead zone, so hopefully my cell phone will hold. If all of a sudden my voice disappears, I promise it's not because I don't like you. It's just simply a drop in the cell coverage. So anyway, what I'm going to demo over the next couple of minutes here is basically a whole consolidation of CRM and BI together into the same kind of environment. Typically what we like to do when we're designing BI solutions is we like to try and keep people that are being productive in the areas where they are productive so that we can show them how productive they've been. I know it seems kind of like a long sentence, but the idea is we don't want them to have to leave CRM to go see how they're doing in their current pipelines when they can just stay in CRM and see it themselves. It simplifies the user experience. It increases kind of the uptake and usability of the business intelligence. And if I'm the sales executive and I'm looking at my customers and contacts and the things that I need to do, and I see listed up here at the top a list of dashboards, and I see my sales exec dashboard, I'm much more likely to click on that and then begin to see how performance is kind of moving along in my team. And then if I've got to launch another tool or open another portal or, you know, do some other sort of gyration to try and figure out what performance looks like. Here's
Good afternoon, everybody. It looks like we lost Steve for a brief moment in time. Technology being what it is, our sincere apologies for the technological delay.
Well, it looks like Steve's got video for the moment, so I'll explain a little bit until Steve's audio comes back on.
Absolutely.
So what this screen is inside Microsoft CRM we have a lot of abilities to leverage it out and take advantage of configuring it out for the user. So as you can see up on the upper left-hand side, provided it stays. Oh, please don't go away. So on the upper left-hand side is we have an executive dashboard, we have a user's dashboard. So based on the user is different users. Now, one executive might log in and see all of those things, and we did lose the video. So hopefully it'll come back here in a second. But what, oh, there we go. I feel like I'm playing hopscotch. So the, looking in there is one person might log in and see one view, another person might see another. So we're looking at a sales executive dashboard. So I'm getting a view of some of the key things that's going on within my region or in the U.S. So if I'm covering the U.S. is sorry I'm laughing because we just keep losing video. I apologize everyone out there. Anyway, so if I'm looking at how I'm doing in the organization from the U.S. perspective, so on like that U.S. map, I can drill in on that data, and I can actually drill right down to opportunities or customer service cases or projects, whatever it is that I'm looking at from the organizational perspective, and be able to drill down and see that information. And I'm not sure if I'm able to. So let me see if I can grab I'm going to pause just for a second here, Dion. I'm going to see if I can bring up a screenshot of that map if I've got one here that I can show so I can talk to it while he's coming back into play. Oh, wait, maybe he is coming back. See if I can find one here. But really being able to drill in that information. The other one on the screen is the pipeline. So it's actually showing a really great visibility of where do things stand in the pipeline. Not in an Excel report. It's actually looking at a nice funnel chart so I can see what's going on in general. Okay, just a second here. I don't see that screenshot, but I thought I had it here. So I'll put the PowerPoint back up. All right. So, since I lost Steve, I'm going to go into a couple of things, but I still want to find that because I just want to talk through a couple of those. I thought he had a couple of those on there, but it looks like I can't find my screenshots now that I'm looking for them, so apologize. Anyway, so I'll go through some of this, and hopefully Steve will come back, and we can actually do that part. But some of the key things that we get out of some of the stuff that we've discussed so far is the user adoption. As I said, that's probably the biggest thing that you're going to get out of any CRM system and BI tools that you're going to put in play together. If people don't use it or aren't able to use it, they're not going to, which makes your CRM system pretty useless and makes your data for the whole organization, whether it's an executive view or a divisional view, worthless in general. Getting a good snapshot of what's going on in the organization, so you're looking at data in a real-time scenario. So what is it? These are the things that we're going to get out of this. So all those pain points that we were talking about earlier of my data does sit in different systems, or I can't find it on a timely manner, or it's too costly to do, is Microsoft CRM is going to give you a lot of this information right out of the box. And Microsoft tends to add more and more features and functionality all the time, releasing new things, so you can build more detailed cubes and leveraging other tools if you own performance points to be able to do that today. So, and I think Steve's coming back, but just in case he doesn't. So we're talking about the different stages. So the stages that your organization is. So everyone on this call is probably at a little bit different scenario than the next. You might be, hey, I'm just looking to get my data centralized because I don't have Microsoft CRM in place today. I've got data that sits in 5 different systems that don't talk to each other. I'm just trying to get an accurate view of what's going on in the organization and to be able to run some sort of standard, pipeline report or what customer service tickets have been resolved. I talked to a customer a couple weeks ago, and they're looking to they've got 3 different CRM systems in place today. They have no idea what customer service tickets have been closed out, or if they're open, or if they were resolved. And, you know, that's a big impact on their business not knowing that. And getting into the second phase is, okay, we've got CRM in place. We've got a centralized view of what's going on, so I can open up an account or a customer or a contact in the system and see their activities, what's been going on with them. Now I can start running a campaign, checking out the effectiveness of it, comparing the organization from one division to the next and sales reps to the next that we talked about. Or you've already got that, you're there, you've got a great CRM system in place, you've been really happy with it over time, and I really want to go to the next level and I want to get the most out of it. So I want to look at is, how are we doing within our organization? How are we trending from this year over last year? You know, who are our best customers? And I think the key thing there is on this, why are they your best customers? And should we target the same vertical, because that vertical tends to be really good for organization, or this same region tends to buy at certain times of the year versus another. So what are we doing on those other times of the year? Is there something else should we be selling them or working with them? You know, why is it? You know, maybe everyone goes on holiday and no one's around at that time of the year, you know, and we're wasting our money doing marketing at that point in time. So let's be more effective with our dollar to make sure it goes a long way. And which customers are most likely to bail on you, as I talked about. These are the key things that you're going to get in the long run, you know, out of your business as you look at it today. Steve, do we happen to have you back? I don't think he is.
No, I don't think he is.
So I'm going to try something, since I don't know that he's coming back, to see if I can get in to the demo image and maybe show a couple quick things while Steve's gone.
Darren, we do have a quick question that had come in that we can ask while you're looking through some of that stuff.
Okay.
One of the questions that came in said, can you incorporate data from other external systems like Oracle or anything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. You know, taking the data doesn't all have to be dumped into one system. If you're looking at your ERP and your CRM system together and you're marrying up the data out of both systems, so you're now getting an accurate. So we can see how much stuff has been maybe, you know, if you're looking at a pipeline, so I can see of what's been getting into, so now I have my pipeline data, so I know what's there. I can see what's forecasted to close in the future. And then on the ERP system, I'm actually looking at actuals. So this business has been closed, we're past due, or we're current, or they've already paid. Putting those two bits of information together, now I'm getting a whole view of what's going on with that customer or that account in general. And I'm scared to do this, but Dion, if I lose you for a second, I will come right back. I'm probably going to drop my connection for just a fraction of a second.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can get into the demo box.
Okay. Not a problem. I think we're all versed in the hiccups that can come with technology every once in a while.
The fun stuff that I'm trying to cause on myself. Poor Steve.
I know.
I feel bad for him. So if there's anyone else with other questions while I'm trying to fire this up, so I can take questions easier than I can read off of.
So we had another question that came in that was talking about, you know, going from different stages, and maybe it's a maturity model type deal or IO model, right? So going from different stages that we could be at, and how much of moving from one stage to another is based on updating our process versus what the technology can do for us?
Not sure if I totally understand the question.
So if I want to go from, you know, great, we have all this data in our system, and I want to leverage it to be more dynamic in marketing campaigns and working with our sales team, is that more of a process function or is that a technology function?
You know, I would say it's a little bit of both. You know, when you look at, it's absolutely a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, if you need to have some sort of processes to map into CRM. One of the great things about Microsoft CRM, it's a very open configurable system. So you're able to take your processes that you have in place, whether they're simple or complex, and map them into there and go through that process that, comes into play to be able to get that information back out of it. So it's a little bit of both. One, technology-wise, you've got to get the data in there and your processes in there to map up to it. So hopefully I'm answering the question right, but, being able to act upon that data once you get it in there. So,
right. And that's really about it, to say, okay, now we've captured X amount of data. What else do we need to be doing? So if I'm a director of marketing and I want to be able to target specific verticals, is it not only how much data do I need to capture, but how am I going to use that data, and therefore how does it need to be extracted or manipulated or used in such a way within the system? Do I need to configure my system to capture more data or release that information?
Yeah, you definitely want to, configure it so you're capturing the data that you want. Although you definitely want to start off simple. You don't want to go overboard on, when you're going through the process of putting a CRM system in place, you want to keep it as simple as possible. Key piece right there.
Simplicity, right?
If you need to match up usability with data that you need to get out of the system. So if there's two people in your organization, there's a user and there's a manager, and the manager wants to see all this great information out of there, start mining all the stuff that we've been talking about in here, but you made 400 fields to fill in to be able to start off, the user's probably not going to fill in 400.
Yeah.
So what's applicable to match those two up is a big part of the process that you want to put in place to be able to get it out of there. Once you get more user buy-in and somebody starts going on and you get adoption and you want to add more functionality to it, absolutely you want to do that, because it's going to be a progressive process that you're going to go into play versus just giving somebody something and saying, hey, fill out 425 fields, because they're not going to do it. So it's a little bit of both that does there. So I can't get into that image right now. I think it's because I'm logged into this. So I'm booting up an image that has, I think, the same stuff on it that Steve had. I think it's pretty much the same image.
Okay.
So I'll just show a couple quick things. But if there's other questions while this is coming out, because I know it's going to take a couple minutes since I'm booting this thing up from scratch, and I know if people need to leave.
Okay. Well, we had booked an hour. We are coming in on that time. And, again, we are recording this webcast. So if people do need to leave at the hour mark, we definitely want to be respectful and mindful of everybody's days and schedules that they've got going on today. But we'll definitely show some of these images and have the recording. We'll make sure that we get the information out to all of the attendees once the recording is available.
And I'll leave it up there if you do need to go, if you want to contact Dion.
Absolutely.
We would be happy to show you this, and we'll probably schedule another follow-up to this if there's enough interest to go through some of this. I apologize from the demo gods weren't with us today. But happy to do it. There's Steve.
Absolutely. And you can use, again, if you do have questions, use the Q&A function located in the upper left toolbar. We'll be happy to answer some questions. One of the questions was asking as far as where you can download the slides from. We'll actually send out this presentation as a follow-up either later today or first thing tomorrow morning to everybody that was here. So let me know if that answers your question or if you have need any additional information. And, Darren, I think one of the other things, too, is we talk about, there's all this talk about doing stuff with your data. And I think we all recognize the need for it in order to be more effective at our marketing efforts and retaining our customers and working with our sales teams and creating a very collaborative environment for ourselves. What in your experience in working with some of our clients, can you kind of talk about folks that went down this path of incorporating a dynamic environment versus the folks that did nothing? So what's the cost of progressing down this path versus the cost of doing nothing?
Well, I guess the cost of doing nothing is, very much business to business or organization to organization focused.
Okay.
If you're happy that how things are today, then great. we went through an analysis over the past quarter with an organization on this scenario, and they had, I think they covered, their organization from a sales perspective covered 6 or 7 states across the country, and the time we actually went and rode along with their sales reps in the field, met with a lot of different divisions and sat down with them on a daily basis on how they enter data into the system, how they get the data out, and the number of applications just to place an order or to know what was going on with that customer before they walked in the door to see them was massively time consuming.
Wow.
Literally, they were saying, you know, just from placing one order a day and getting this into one system, it would save about 25 minutes a day. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start adding that up over a week and over the course of the time, 25 minutes in their world was another stop to go see another customer every day. And every time they stopped in to see another customer or another prospect, they tended to get business out of it. So the cost for them was, you know, fairly easy ROI when you start looking at this on how what they get back on their daily basis. And I would say that time is the most valuable thing that probably everyone on this call is affected by.
Mm-hmm.
And quantifying what that time is. If, you know, you spend more time trying to get an order placed or finding information around, you know, your customer, you know, it probably makes sense to go through this process. You know, if you've only got one application in the whole organization, you know, it's probably not that applicable, but I doubt anyone on the call is on that. So you start looking at what's your time that you get back on it. It's probably the number one ROI that you get. Everything else starts benefiting beyond there, meaning, okay, now we're looking at, you know, the customer, when we look at a customer service scenarios, how quick we're taking care of our customers, knowing what their problem is as soon as they call in or being able to handle them in a timely manner starts, you know, making happier customers, or understanding from a marketing perspective on, hey, I sent this person a marketing campaign last, you know, 2 minutes ago, and I sent it every hour, every day. That's probably not making them real happy. I want to know who we've sent it to, why we sent it to them, how often we're sending it to them, and what's going on there. So those are, you know, some of the things you start thinking about when you're looking at a CRM system, and the information that comes out of it when you do. Hopefully that answered that question.
That does. And we have a few other questions. One came in that says, the predictive analytics mentioned, does that include trending tools, or is it up to the user to do that in Excel?
It's a little bit of both, and Steve is actually going to show that. I don't know if Steve's back on the phone. If he is, I'll let him actually answer that. But he's not really back on the phone. You're kind of muffled, Steve. So hopefully Steve will come back. But you can actually do both. So there's a lot of different, you know, tools that are available. One is Excel. The other is, you know, the way that you're building your reports, and then getting into like Performance Point Server, that you're mining that data to take a look at it to see how we did this year versus last year and the different tools. So there's kind of different steps there, and that's Steve just sent me a message saying that he fell off again. Poor guy. He fell off the cliff a lot today. So looking at that, there's a lot of different kind of steps to get into it. So once again, it's simple to, you know, could be complex, as complex as you kind of want to make it to a degree, to be able to do that. Hopefully that answered that question.
Okay. We had another question that came up that says, how much of this could be done with SharePoint versus investing in Performance Point? And if we invest in Performance Point, what type of technical resources are needed on our side to assist with the deployment and maintain the dashboard?
Yeah, well, in some cases you would leverage SharePoint and Performance Point together, or that screen that Steve had up a minute ago actually was Microsoft CRM with SQL reports sitting on top of SharePoint. And I think I might have that up here in 2 minutes to be able to show that quickly again. From the Performance Point side, I'd say that it might be good to send a message to Dion, and I could have Steve follow up with you to go through from a technical aspect on what you need to have that kind of talent in-house. So might be the best thing to do is to send a message to Dion, whose email is up on the screen there, and we can follow up with you and just send you, either a quick message or follow up with you on a phone call to take care of that, because I don't want to misanswer that from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
More questions?
The other one, do we have to do anything to the CRM database directly to deploy BI?
No. You're not going to touch the database directly. You have a variety of different options. We're going to report on like a filtered view of that information. Lots of information out there available today to you with the Microsoft CRM SDK to talk more about how that works. You won't actually be writing directly to the database, or you would be exporting this data into a data warehouse if you have one in place already today. So there's a variety of different mechanisms for hitting that data, whether you're looking at it from a real-time perspective, or if you're exporting it out, or if you're just sitting a cube on top of it so you can look at it from a dimensional perspective. You shouldn't, anyway, I'll leave it to that.
Okay. And again, if anybody needs additional information, or if you'd like to set up a meeting with one of our local account teams in the area, we'll be happy to schedule that meeting with you and your team to talk further about these items. I'm always happy to do that. Darren, we are at the top of the hour mark. If you do have that image loaded, we can definitely show some of that information.
It is almost up.
Okay.
It is, apologize, I just didn't have it in a standby mode. If I did, it would have come up right away. But
no worries.
I'm booting the server from scratch. It is almost up, so I will say probably 60 seconds. So if there's another question, I'm happy to have it. And as I said, I know a lot of people need to drop off. We're happy to rerun this with the demo portion later on. Apologize. All right, so let's see if I can share this.
No worries.
All right, so as my report is coming up here, what I was talking about earlier was inside Microsoft CRM, we can basically configure this to tailor to your needs. So we would have different groups that might see a different dashboard. So I'm actually pulling open the sales rep dashboard. The rest of them should pop open pretty quick after this one opens. But based on user role. So on my daily basis, I can pull open a report. Granted, it would be in a timely manner. Sorry, this is all running on my laptop. More of my demo friends helping me out here. It looks like it's just about ready. But this is actually Microsoft CRM, and then this is SharePoint sitting inside here. So I'm actually using both applications with the reports together. So I'm able to, from a user's perspective, here's how I'm going to start my day. So here's my activities, or here's my leads that I'm working on. And so this would be configured out from a user's perspective. Or if I want to drill down into this information, I want to say, okay, well, what's actually going on in the pipeline? Let's actually pull open that record. You could drill down and actually start seeing what's going on with that information. So if I'm looking at the detailed information here, I'm going to say, okay, well, what makes up that? So I can see, okay, well, there's one deal that's making up that information. If I want to see it again, I could click on it again, and it'll actually pull open the opened or closed opportunity, depending if I'm looking at what's in the pipeline or what's in the lost perspective, or, what's the actual lead. So it gives me a quick view of what's going on. So from an executive perspective within our organization, I can quickly drill down to find out, what's going on with that, either opportunity or service case or customer or prospect, whatever it is that we're looking at within the organization. If I'm a sales executive and I want to see it from I want to look at it more from a holistic, the company. So who are my top reps, how we're doing to business. This is, the key things that I can quickly get to. So, as I said, this is SQL reporting services with SharePoint and CRM. And mine doesn't have all the data that Steve's had in here. It is all ready to go, so I apologize about that. But same thing, just a different user that's going to see, so I want to see different information. I'll open up marketing, and then I'll try to open up the executive one, which is actually performance point, although that might take a second since I didn't have it open. But if there's other questions that when I go to click on that one, it's going to see in there that might be applicable. So, how is our campaigns doing? What's effective in that campaign? The nice thing about all these, it's really easy to drill down into these reports and get the information that you want from the organizational perspective. And all these reports, just like this, can be available inside Outlook if you want to use inside Outlook. I'm actually showing the Microsoft CRM web client, which looks like Outlook, which is another great thing about the usability perspective and easy to do. So I'll do two things. I'll click on the executive dashboard. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to pull open here and show you quickly from the Excel perspective on how easy it is to get information out of Microsoft CRM. So I want to take my accounts, and I want to export this information into Excel. As I was talking about earlier, once you export it, you can come back in here and refresh it at any given time. So I could take all of these, and I could dump it out to Excel, or I could go into Advanced Find, and I could say whatever the criteria is that I want. So I can look at any data field that's inside Microsoft CRM and pull that out and quickly do an ad hoc report out of it. So I'll see if I have a good one. So I've got all accounts in Illinois in here. So, let's go ahead and take that one. So I've shown me all accounts inside Illinois. I go press Find. It's going to go pull every single account in the system that's from the state of Illinois. I can take that. I can export it out to Excel. And now it's going to give me a few different options of how I want to export it out to. So I can just do a static worksheet, or I can do a dynamic. So a dynamic would give me the option of every time I want to refresh that data, it's going to go back out to CRM, grab the data, and refresh the worksheet. And I'm just going to do a standard one just from a time perspective. So it gives me a ability to open this up. Basically, you just do a quick export. And if you're concerned about security with data within your organization, you can also turn that feature off so people can't export if they don't want to. But it does give you a quick ability to dump data out to Excel within your organization. That's probably going to take a second too. I've got too much stuff running. And there you go. Pretty simple. So I'm going to close that out. Let's go see if my performance point dashboard is up. And it is. Yay. See, things are working out. I'll make that a little bigger real quick. Sorry, it's kind of crunched on the screen, but so now I'm leveraging Microsoft CRM data, going out to, we've got a cube, so I'm able to look at it from a lot of different perspectives, and I'm displaying it inside Microsoft CRM and SharePoint at the same time again. So with this, I can look at a lot of different key performance indicators, or I could drill down on information. So I could right-click on this, and I could say, hey, what actually is in there? So do I want to see this information by account, or the campaign, or the opportunity, whatever it is in the system? Make it simple here since this has probably got an account associated to it. Click on account. Now it's showing me a breakdown of deals won by account. If I want, I can go drill down again and say, show me by, let's see if we can pull this out by city. So it's actually pulling out. So we got some in Washington and some not. So it looks like all of our deals are going on in Washington right now. I'm sure Steve's data was a lot more detailed and perspective there, but this gives you some quick overview of how you can, I think the key thing to walk away from this is that all of your information can sit inside one system from a user's perspective. It doesn't have to be, hey, log out of this one, go click up here, go log into SharePoint, go back to CRM, go to another tool, and so forth. If I can present all the data that's relevant to the user at their fingertips. And I know that we're running out of time, so if we have some more questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll let Dion wrap up.
I think we're actually pretty good. We don't have any additional questions. And again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for today's webcast. Again, our apologies for the technical difficulties that we had. Steve and Darren and I will work together as far as the next steps and trying to re-record this webcast with the demo working, and so everybody can see that and get value out of that as well. So Darren was kind enough to put up my contact information up on the screen. If you have any questions or need additional information about any of the information we covered today, obviously definitely happy to have further conversations with you and your organization. So again, thank you, Darren. And I know Steve wasn't able to join us very much today, so we definitely missed him and look forward to catching up with him here shortly. So again, thank you everybody for joining us, Darren for your time, and we will speak with everybody soon. Thank you.